So my name is Eric Adile Irajo. I want to welcome you all to this premier edition of the Sustainability Roundtable. Sustainability Roundtable series is a Nigerian village square for sustainable development discussion, natural, true discussion on sustainable development. The Sustainability Roundtable is also a place where we air our view, where we talk on issue the way it is. And so I have with me in the studio Justice Iheme. Justice Iheme is an entrepreneur and a consultant in many fields. I just want us to, it's a place that we are natural in our discussion of what is happening across the globe, especially as we x-ray the issues shaping our shared future. And we are here this evening to just share on the issues that are shaping our shared future in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally. And so, Iheme, I welcome you to this program.
Thank you, sir. It's really a pleasure being here.
You're welcome. The issue of sustainability has become a very serious matter in the global discourse and in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria. Once you put the word sustainable as a preface to any topic, it becomes a high-sounding topic. Everybody thinks that you have used a big word, that what you have said has become a very big issue. And so it has become very, very important that we take a second look on the issue of sustainability. Because sustainability of the sustainable development has become a very key factor that we need to consider. Because a lot of things that are happening, that is shaping our futures, are not actually being taken into consideration. And so this evening, we will just be looking at the topic, shaping our shared future together. You know, the world has become a global village in the sense that whatever affects anybody, anywhere in the world, affects everybody. And so everything that is happening globally has become of great interest to a lot of people. And so this evening, or in this program, in the Sustainability Roundtable series, every Tuesday by 3 p.m., we'll be x-raying those issues, having a discourse on those issues that are shaping our futures, trying to look at how serious the issue of sustainability has become, because it has become a very, very big issue that we need to give a second thought and a second look and a second consideration. And so I just want to know, what does it mean to you when we are talking about the issue of sustainability? You know, like I said earlier, in sustainability now, and especially in Nigeria, when you see in every national and local discourse, yes, once you talk about sustainable economy, sustainable water supply, yes, sustainable everything, yes, and you look like the person has just said a very big word. But to me, you know, the sustainability, when you talk about sustainability, yes, it's a shared, it imposes a responsibility on you, because the sustainable development as we have it was defined as a development that takes care of our needs without compromising opportunity of the future to take care of their need. And so when you are talking about sustainable, It means anything that you add that word sustainable means you're already talking about a responsibility to the future generation.
That is it.
And also now when we talk about sustainability, that means it's a shared responsibility to be mindful of the impact of whatever we do, the impact to the future. And so this is all that we've been looking at in this series. And so looking at our theme today, shaping our shared future together. I don't know, what do you understand? What can you say? How do we shape our shared future together as Nigeria?
All right.
Especially as a young person, because while I felt it is very needful for us to come up with a young person at the premier edition of this, is because the young people are the one most affected. They are the one that have more time in the future.
Yes.
And they are the one that the whole world, the future is looking up to.
Thank you.
And so, to you as a young person, what do you understand by shaping our shared future together?
Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you for having me. You know, just as you rightly said earlier, when we talk about sustainability, it's just an indispensable term or concept, because whatever is not sustainable, as long as we are human, then doesn't worth it at all being in place. But we must be intentional when we are creating that which we really want to be sustained or to be sustainable as it applies. Now, if you look at the society as it is, especially in Nigeria, we say we are creating a sustainable environment just as we have it in the 2030 goal, sustainability goal. But over the years, which area have we intentionally begin to develop so that we can sustain? Because you create, you nurture, you maintain, then you begin to envisage sustainability or to sustain. Then shaping our future as a people, as a country, we must be intentional on that which we really want to create and sustain. Be it health, education, be it the economy, security. These things are not rocket science. It's not complicated. It's one step at a time. It's all about us who must create, nurture, then sustain it. So if we must come together to shape our future, then we must build it brick by brick. It's just certain that over the years, it had been a discussion. We said the leaders this, the leaders that. Sometimes it's not just all about the leaders. It's all about us. It starts with us. We must understand our place as people, human. What are we to do? The leaders are just 1 or 2% out of how many of us as a country. So sustainability is something that we all might say that it's just the people up there that will create it for us. But for us to come together as a person, it must begin with us. Let us begin to be intentional in our own choices and decisions from our homes. Then we now begin to look at it at the larger scale, which is the leadership.
Thank you very much. You used the phrase intentional, the word intentional for in over 4 times in your this thing, and I think is a good word to be used for sustainability, because for anything to be sustainable, it must be intentional.
Yes.
There must be that element of intentionality. There must be that element of intention. You must desire. You must plan it. You must. But as we are as a country, and it's regarding the issue of the implementation of the SDG,
yes,
will you say as a young person,
yes, sir,
that Nigeria has been intentional in the implementation of the SDG, the way we go about it currently? Okay,
sir. Thank you for asking. Talking about SDG, we have different actors who are supposed to be implementers of these SDG goals. But so far, so good. How many of them are actually, putting the action to work? The media have their part to play, the civil society organization, just the NGOs, and government also have their own. So I cannot tell you categorically that we have been doing great in implementing these SDG goals because they are numerous. There are some NGOs that are actually measuring in sanitation, clean water, education, hunger, poverty reduction, and all that. But sometimes we just have this whole policy in paper, piled up. And we are, like I keep saying, we are not intentional about implementing this. So I don't think we are intentional about it in as much as we are making progress as a people. Because we even have individual diseases who are trying to tackle the issue of hunger, poverty reduction, sanitation. So, the likes of VDM now, if I must say, who have come up the Rakte movement, where they go about cleaning the environment and all that. That is SDG goal, right? But some of the actors that are supposed to be taking up that very policy of 2030 of SDG are not really doing it. So it brings me to the point you mentioned earlier that it's still us as a people. Let's not wait for other actors who are not really putting action to work. We can start by intentionally having this clear and intentional conscience and sincere conscience of what to do, because some of us have, let's say, lost it. We are looking at the next person, to cash out and all that on, but we have lost our little humanity. So Nigeria is people, not just a name. So if Nigeria must grow, if Nigeria must be better, we have to be better ourselves. So for we to achieve that poverty reduction, sanitation, clean water, security, and everything, we must create it.
I love this word that you use, that we have lost our sense of humanity. Yes. I felt in shaping our future, there must be a area engineering on that sense of humanity, because we cannot actually shape our shared future without restoring that quality of humanity in us, that we see things the way it affects the other person, not the way it profits us, because it's just a kind of what I understand from what you said is a kind of going back to balance profit from gain and responsibility. It still boils down on what we're saying on the shaping our shared future. When you look at the common book that everybody looked at for the implementation of the SDGs, which is our common future, that book that called our common future, that restore our shared future. I sometimes I kept wondering whether the implementers of the program in Nigeria or our leader always take note of that, because the SDGs we are talking about, we'll be looking at in most of our series, is everything about it is anchored on six, and erroneously anchored on to many people they believe we have 17 goals.
Yes.
But to me, I always felt we have a 16 goal. Okay. A 16 goal, because the 17 goal is not a goal in itself, though is the ultimate goal. The 17 goal said we building global partnership for the implementation of the other goals. And shaping our future like we are looking at today. Yes. What do you think was the focus of that 17 goal? If you look at the 17 goal, it only talk about building global partnership for the implementation of the goals, which is the 16 goals. Yes. And when I look at that 17 goal, I start wondering, when we're talking about our shared future, how do you think building partnership or a closer attention on the 17th goal of the SDG will impact deeply on shaping our shared future?
What
do you think?
Thank you, sir. Because I think from the Bible perspective, if I must say, no one exists in a vacuum, and for us to succeed, we must not be in isolation. That is why, as you rightly say, partnership, collaboration is what we definitely engineer, or will I say push the other 16 goals if we might or if we must achieve it. No one actually succeeds in isolation. So we must come together. Now, looking at it in the local context as Nigeria, we must bring it order together. The actors, like I said, we have to come together in synergy. That is the only thing that will help us achieve anything we want to achieve. We must not leave it in the hand of the few. The youths must be carried along, the professionals, the women, the vulnerable. We all have ideas. We all have potentials. We have things to offer. But sometimes it seems we are just being relegated, or they just jettison your ideas because they feel you are not worthy enough. So that is why even in that SDG goals, you have that partnership in place. Collaboration is the key. How do you collaborate? Intentionally also, you have to inform the people. They have to be informed basically. Then after informing them, you empower them. Then when they are being empowered, then you create a space for them. Then let them work. But when they are not empowered, they are not informed, they are handicapped. So these are some of the ugly incidents and issues that we keep having in the society. And that is why there is a whole lot of treaty, going on in international sphere now. Some countries can't just succeed without another. Which country in the world will I say they are self-sufficient? You don't have everything. You must, one way or the other, leverage the strengths or resources of the other country for you to be better. We might say some countries like Singapore, maybe Dubai, China, they are trying to, of course, compete with the power blocks now. United States and other, but no country will I say they are self-sufficient. So collaboration is very, very key. So bringing it down to Nigeria as a country, we must understand that. Let's empower people, let's inform people. And as a youth, which is where I'm speaking from, you can't just leave the youths and just assume that everything is okay. We must be intentional, empowering, make our education sector better. Vocational trainings are there, empower them. Grants, all these things, we hear it on TV and sometimes we don't see how the implementations is going and all that. Collaboration is key in a very nutshell, and we must be intentional about it if you want to collaborate with the women, with the professionals, with the youths, for us to achieve a better country. Let's not just leave it in the hand of the few.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You see, like, there's still on the word that, that word is still very, very echoing, yes. Intentional. And I think that's the key word in sustaining our sustainable development.
Yes,
if you check a critical challenge in Nigeria, is that development or sustainable development has been so fragmented.
Okay.
Fragmented in Nigeria, yes. That now, especially issues of sustainable or challenges of sustainable development, when we talk about, once we hear issue of a crisis, conflict, extremism,
yes.
We talk of the military, we think of the police and all the rest of them. Once we think about what we talk about the issue of health,
yes.
It has been resolved to the health ministry. And so, why do you think our biggest national challenges remain so interconnected and often unresolved?
Okay. Why I feel is interconnected and is still unresolved is, I used to give one instance or analogy that if as a resident, you clean your surroundings, you have good sanitation, maybe interval of 2 weeks and all that, you do the fumigation thing and all that. And perhaps the next door neighbor or compound don't do the same. They don't clean their environment. Do you know that have implication on you too? So the mosquitoes from there will definitely affect you living in your own compound. Not because you have failed to clean your own environment, to fumigate your environment, but because of the next compound are very carefree or careless about it. So no matter what we do, why this whole thing have been unresolved and is still joining us together because it's just like a shared goal. Poverty speaks the same language everywhere. If you don't train your own child, or I trained mine, yours or whoever does not put that intentionality to raise his or her own child, mind you, we are still going to meet in the same market. We are still going to meet in the same worship centers, perhaps the same school, anywhere. So there is still one place that we all are going to meet. So it's a shared goal. We are going to buy from the same market, either rich or poor. We are living in the same community, rich or poor. So it's unresolved because it is not just all about me alone. It's not just all about you alone, sir. It's a collective effort. That is why the insecurity, when it happens, we have the whole insurgency and banditry sometimes. It doesn't just affect the rich or the poor. So it's unresolved because it affects everyone. And that's why I keep using the word intentionality. If we are very carefree and fold our hands, not folding our sleeves to do what we need to do, it will still be unresolved in years to come. You can't have the whole security right now, or you may think you have it, but what happened in the nearest future? So it's been unresolved because we failed to see the real issue and tackle it collectively. If the neighbor down the street is not empowered, is a threat to you as a big man. You may not know. If the neighbor next door don't have, and you have, it only takes discipline and grace of God for that next neighbor not to steal from you.
Yeah.
So it's a collective thing, and it has been unresolved because of the next person there is not educated, is not informed, is not empowered. And that is why it keeps affecting us. It's like a vicious circle. So we must tackle it one step at a time. Let's not just say it's not my business. It's going to be your business someday. Like I said, we will still meet in the same markets, rich and poor, the same worship center, sometimes the same school, or wherever we meet. So that is why it's been unresolved, because the other person have not gotten it right.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the ordinary citizen.
Yes, sir.
The issue of sustainable development has always looked like it is for the ordinary citizen. Yes, I mean.
Yes, sir.
And the ordinary citizen seems not to be part of the process.
Yes.
The ordinary citizen seems not to be part of the process.
Yes.
But the whole program, everything about sustainable development seems to be like a project for the ordinary citizen. Now, how can the ordinary citizen move from frustration to collective action for sustainable development? How do we move the ordinary citizen now from the place of frustration? Because the whole process looks for, it was meant for them. Poverty reduction, food security, everything, inclusive education, it looks like it's meant for them. But now, how do we now move them from the position of frustration to collective action? Because without having them buy into this project, the project will come and go by 2030. The extension will come. Even our vice president, if you remember, in the last General Assembly, requested for extension for Africa, like some other African leaders requested for extension. But with or without extension, I think the SDG is something that every country, every community, every family should adopt and then make it a way of life. As a religious affair that as something continuously you do. But then the issue now is how do we move the ordinary citizen from frustration, from the place of frustration to collective action for sustainable development?
Thank you, sir. We can move the ordinary citizen from that point of frustration to action by the three things I mentioned earlier: information, empowerment. Then you can now look at for the result, which is the action, without them being informed, because everything about life starts from the mind. Some persons have not found the need. I was in one policy, analysis program where they are trying to see how tobacco can actually be a thing of the past. So some people were suggesting that high tax should be put on tobacco production and distribution and the rest of them. In one of those programs, then they were now looking for suggestion way forward. They said that, do you know that liquor, they are one of the most taxed industry, alcohol now. But even at that, they still strive and sell very high. If you check online, you see how great, billions of dollars all over the world. But they are highly taxed. I'm actually driving to a place now. Now, it's a thing of the mind. Now, how do we make tobacco, to be a thing, maybe to be reduced to a thing of the past, so that people will stop consuming it or have a little consumption of it? Some say, put high tax on it so that people will not be able to afford it. They say it has been done over the years, and regardless. Okay, they say now it's been body written, smokers are liable to die young. Still, people are still taking it. So how do we achieve it? Now, it now comes down to what we call intentional orientation, de facto, if I must use that word, one-on-one. See, for me to get to your spirit, I must communicate a language you understand. I might speak from now till tomorrow. Take the tobacco from 100 naira, for instance, to 500 naira. If you have not have a reason to jettison it, you will not. You will look for the 500 naira to purchase it. So it will not solve the problem. So the same thing about informing people, taking them from that place of frustration, of course, to a place of abundance or having their basic need met, whether sanitation and reduction of poverty. It comes from orientation, educating them. Government must be intentional about these things. Some people don't know. You assume that they know. The fact we wear clothes, we don't go naked, you might think that the next person knows what he or she is supposed to know. We have a lot of people out there ignorant of so many things. And that is why the Bible also says people perish not because of resources, lack of knowledge. This is called knowledge. This is a hard currency. So we must begin to see how we can inform and educate the common man. Of course, the man, both woman and everybody out there. Let's orientate, educate them. Then if they are properly informed, they understand the place they are and where they are ought to be, then that alone is a step forward. Then before you cannot do the empowerment. And don't empower someone that is not informed. That is why they always have it. Statistics have it out. People that win lottery and all that, they still go back to zero. You see them 1 billion naira or dollar and all that. Because they are not informed, they are not ready. Information, as the Bible said it, information, knowledge is one thing we must be very keen about as a people. Let's begin to inform people what to do, what not to do. Then if they have been captured, they are now well informed, then we cannot empower them. That empowerment cannot be sustainable over time. But without that whole information or education from the mind to the things of vocational and other skills, then we are going nowhere. Then one thing also that will not be rooted out is the issue of security. And of course, if you are talking about security, you are now looking at the insecurity we are having. Why are we having insecurity? We have a whole lot of people that are not informed and not empowered too. Look at it now. Let's just put it to test. Why do we have insecurity, sir? Because of the people carrying out this insurgency or causing this mayhem are not informed. And what is their problem? They are not empowered. It's just two things there. If they are properly informed, do you know that even when they are not empowered, sir, they can decide to take back step down or step backward? Because when they are informed, now they will be waiting for empowerment. So information of the mind or empowerment of the mind comes first. So we have government agencies, like I said, other actors that are supposed to be doing this, national orientation agencies and all that. The non-governmental organizations are trying. So these are one of the ways or the key that we can actually take people out from a place of frustration.
Thank you very much.
By information and empowerment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You know when you talked about the empowerment and you talk about education, orientations, and all the rest of them.
Yes, sir.
what it means is, what it was just ringing on my ear is the responsibilities you sent me.
Yes, sir.
I kept on imagining who is responsible for that. And you know, in Nigeria, when you talk about education, Nigeria is one of the most educated countries in the world.
Yes.
And every Nigerian, an average Nigerian want to go to school.
Yes.
Because I mean, education is very competitive in Nigeria, and Nigeria go to school. And you see, but like what you said, if you look at on the issue of development in Nigeria, even on handling development, you find out that we are so ignorant about it, and a lot of things is not going well.
Yes.
A lot of things is not going well.
Yes,
and like you say, the communication, engagement, and like I keep telling people that we are living an engagement era. This era we are past the era of much communication, engaging. Like what you say, just engaging, intentionally engaging people to pull them out of what they know, on learning and relearning them. And now, I keep on asking, from your own point of view, what role must government, business, and civil society play differently now, as we approach 2030? Because 2030 is already here. I'm always afraid. I'm not afraid that 2030 will come and meet us unprepared. Just my fear is that, why should we now wait again till 2030 to now have an extension again to for everybody in Nigeria now that is over 50 or 60 now, by 2030 you know how many years it will be. What can you do? So for us at this level now, what can we do differently? As business people, as government, as civil society organizations, what can we do differently now to move Nigeria closer to achieving the SDG?
Thank you, sir. What we can do differently,
and as you too,
what we can do differently, sir, I will tell you, is what we have failed to do earlier. What we can do differently is what we have not done in the past. There's nothing to it. There's nothing here trying to tell you leverage technology and all that. What we can do differently is that same thing that we are supposed to have done in the time past. That's what we can do differently. And what is that? I'll put it to you, sir. Or I will say, the life I am living now was not gotten now. The life I am living now was not gotten now. It was gotten 3, 4, 5 years ago. That is my current life I am living now, right? The degree perhaps and knowledge I have now was not just gotten today or last week. What was it? 4 or 5 years ago. Preparation.
Yeah.
So if we must achieve whatever the SDG have set out for 2030, we must start now. And it's just what we have failed to do in the time past. It's just deciding about intentionality. Sometimes we talk about grid collapse. We don't have light and all that. But what measures are we putting in place to see that we don't have that same reoccurrence? We talk about natural disaster like flood, year after year. If you don't tackle it now, next year, next 2 years, you will still have the same issue. So if we must achieve any of the goals, we will start now. It's not anything totally new. It's intentionally begin to find a way. Talking about poverty, of course, there's nothing like poverty eradication. We can only mitigate it. We can only reduce it. So is we starting now to put structures in place that are just informing the people and empowering them, so that life we want them to live in 2030, they will prepare for it now. And when they are skilled, they are empowered, in the next 3-4 years, the results will show. So that thing will be achieved. It's only starting now because we have failed to start over the years. So there's nothing really new. It's all about intentionality and being responsible. If I want to have PhD, just for instance, like in 2030, I am supposed to have a PhD, or in 3-4 years from now, I will not just fold my hands. I will start now. And in the 3, 4, 5 years, you will see it manifest. So it's the same thing. So let's put the measures in place. If you want to see insecurity go down, reduced to the barest minimum, then you must orientate the people and empower them positively. Not just time, you begin to chase them, rehabilitate them, and all that. Then you forgot that you actually failed to do what you're supposed to have done in the time past. So for us to achieve these goals, I keep saying it, is we going back to the drawing board. Let's do what we are supposed to do. Life is not that hard, sir. Life is not difficult. I hope you know, sir. I'm one of those that have that orientation that life is not that difficult. If only we do what we are supposed to do. It's all about A and B. Like just putting the right person, the right tool sometimes. But sometimes it needs the right knowledge for you to get it done. So if that goal had been designed, let's do what we are supposed to do. And we can start now. And I keep saying, let's not leave it in the hand of the few called government. Let's have that human clear conscience and responsibility that this is what I'm supposed to do, and begin to take responsibility. Then we'll now look out for the other person.
Part of what you do and what you consult is a policy analyst. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And you know that I know for sure that one of the major problem of Nigeria is policy. Policy somersault, and we bring policy. You and I were there when we were talking about the issue of Abial sustainability, roundtable series, and all the rest of them. What we did then, and you see, and after all our discussion on that policy document called Abia 2030's development plan, and you see the current governor still. Abandoned it and then came up with a new policy. Came up with a new policy, and that's supposed to drive development in the state. That's our nature as a people. And then the issue of also poverty, issue of climate change, insecurity, and food crisis. Today. We earlier talk about interconnectivities of these challenges. And you find out that one challenge breed the other. One challenge breed the other. One challenge breed the other. I was in a circle one time when we issue of the crisis of the insecurity. Most of them came up, and and the genesis of it from the drying Lake Chad, and from 23-kilometer lake to 3-kilometer lake, and all the rest of them are a major source of all those things. Now when we look at all those things and the analysis that we've been giving every day, people sit down and keep analyzing this thing without considering the grassroots, the real thing, because they've not been there. It's good in Nigeria. We are good analysts. Stand there with your tie. You pieces a piece of policy, and you talked about it. But when it comes to implementation, it becomes issue, very big issue, because you have to go out there before you now understand what it means to implement. You have to go out there. Now, how do poverty, insecurity, climate change, and food security reinforce one another in our communities? Because we have seen a pattern in Nigeria, a pattern of insecurity, a pattern of poverty, a pattern of climate change issues, and a pattern of crisis, food crisis, and all the rest of them. How do this crisis, may reinforce each other in our communities?
Okay, of course, we cannot just assume that if one is educated, if we have gotten education right, then automatically the economy is going to be right as well, or the insecurity is going to be swept away and all that. It affects one another. And as you mentioned about policy implementation too, there are steps and stages of policy. Of course, we talk about the initiation, the planning, to execution, to monitoring and evaluation and all that. Now, not to bore our audience with the whole policy stages and process. Some of the stages do fail in their own assignment. They do fail in their own assignment. When the policy is initiated, it might be very beautiful policy, fantastic. But what happens? Sometimes scale that stage, then maybe to the point of implementation. Sometimes they implement it, halfway and all that. Now, what happened to those evaluating that policy? They fail to do the thorough evaluation of it. What happened to the monitoring? They fail to monitor it. What is the progress of this policy? Is it effective or not? So that there will be feedback, because they're supposed to gather feedback. If this policy is succeeding, are we having the impact that this policy is supposed to do to the people? But sometimes you just get to that stage of implementation, they'll just implement it halfway and everyone back off. So this whole thing keep reinforcing. If you think you have gotten education right, everyone wants to go to school, acquire a skill, then you now abandon the area of security or economy. It will still affect us, because you finish school, for instance, you are not properly skilled to start up something for yourself, there will be lack of job. And when the person don't have something doing or engage, the person might begin to engage in other things that are valuable. Stealing, looting, and all that. So they are interconnected. So we must understand that we are not just talking about education alone. When you talk about education, look at the economy. What plans are you putting in place? Because if the economy fails, it's going to come back to insecurity. Insecurity will, come up. It's just like a bar, So there have to be a constant check, intentional check on these things. Let not just feel that you are focused on one area alone. No. It's just a circle that we must be intentional about to make sure every area is being fed properly. And that's why we have brilliant people in Nigeria. In the United States, so most of the medical doctors, especially for Atlanta, Georgia, and all like the Chicago and the rest, where we have more black persons now, most of the medical doctors are Nigerians. Now, what happens? We have gotten the education right, like it's everybody wants to go to school. But after the education, what happened? There is nothing to keep them. There's no employment, so to say. There's no job. So we now get this right and we leave this. So for them not to fold their hands or try to engage in one ugly situation, they have to leave. So we don't have a viable economy, so to say. So which the policy is part of it. We see it on paper. So we can get education right, not getting the economy right. And going to breed insecurity. And hunger also is there. So you can see how one of these, keep coming back to the other or affecting the other.
Anyway,
So,
they said a hungry man is an angry man.
Of course,
A
yes.
hungry man is an angry man. And, like what you say, lack of knowledge and empowerment of in the communities, it can reinforce and is reinforcing climate change and all the rest of them. The way we manage our environment carelessly, and whatever we are doing that is impacting negatively on our lives. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And every of these things are all crises in the communities, and all of them are interconnected. I think, like you said earlier, that the key thing is re-engagement, reassessing our engagement, and reassessing how we also being intentional, how we do things differently. You know, to achieve these goals. I know, while it has become very important to us as a people and as a nation, is because we are involved. And now, when we talk about shaping our future, somebody told me, and when he saw these topics, Eric, we have already lost a whole lot of future. He said, we have already lost a whole lot of futures. You know, I said, how? He said, my generation is lost. That's how he put it, because the guy is almost 50. He said, my generation is almost lost.
Yes.
The generation under me, they are lost. The other one under me, which one are we going to be shaping? Which of the future generation are we going to be? Who told you we are sharing our future? But there is nothing. If we understand that the critical thing that we need in the implementation of this SDG is our coming together, which is that 17 goals. Because the critical focus of this engagement here at Sustainability Roundtable is on that 17 goal. Because we need to understand that 17th goal of the SDG. Yes, building global partnership, reinforcing global partnership. Because I remember in those days in communities, I remember growing up in my community, that a young man grew up to a certain age and he need a house. The whole village build a house for him. Technically, Understand me?
Yes.
Then the men will go cut the trees. Then the women will go dance on the mud.
Yes.
And then the men will go paste the mud on this, do the architecture of the building. Even if it is 2 or 3, nobody does not. There's nobody that lives in the village then that doesn't have a house.
Amazing.
Where do we come out of it? Because then community has become a dictionary word. Community.
Yes.
Returning back to community. Because when you look at all what we are doing in the SDG and every other thing that we do, and even in the larger society, because the critical challenge that we have is just because I think from what you have said, being intentional on this thing is that we are losing sense of community.
Yes.
Which in the other sense also is a sense of humanity.
Yes.
We are losing sense of community. Because we used to be a community that look out for each other.
I love that.
And the more we fragment, the more our challenges grow. The more we fragment, the more our challenges grow.
Yes.
You understand me? Yes. In some way where I live around the Galadimawa area,
yes,
a farmer came and did a road for us.
Yes.
And while they were doing that road some 3 years ago, I called the chairman of the coalition of estates association that were doing that. I called him in a meeting. I said, sir, please, if we are to, this road is to survive for now, you understand me? Somebody has to own it. You understand me? Because a critical missing point in building community is a sense of ownership. You understand me? And that is a critical thing that we are losing every day. I told the guy that somebody need to own this road. Own this road. Can we own this road? He thought I was joking. But after 6 months, when the road has already gone, dilapidated, nothing was there because nobody owns it. You know, but in the communities and how our culture is built, our culture is built in community, and our culture is built in ownership. I think from what you have said in this policy adoption and you know and integration, you know, you have to first adopt and integrate, because I think intentionally we have not sat down on these policies and look at it how it affects us. I think we have not looked at it how it affects us. How do we implement it? We read in papers, we wear our ties, and we sit before the televisions and everywhere, make it loud, say everything that we need to say, but we have not come together as a community. Because in each community, I found out that every community can solve its problem.
I love that.
Can solve its problem.
I love
every problem a community can solve. But how do we achieve that? That's the issue that this is. And now moving forward, now we now look at in what way can young people and women become real drivers of this transformational leadership and implementation of the SDG that we are talking, because they are the young people are going to be the most affected. The women are regarded as the most vulnerable. How do we help them? But in my own sense, I'm also thinking of that community. How do we bring people back to that sense of community where we could be able as young people and women to achieve this?
All right, sir. Thank you so much for bringing that issue of community responsibility. I will paraphrase it. Now, I remember Vidiwe too. I was told, I was not born then, that in a community, back there in my community, that for them to bring in electricity to the community and some other communities nearby, that there is this palm tree harvest, cultivation and all that. Then when the palm tree is due and all that, then the community will harvest it. We have a whole lot of palm tree in my place. Then of course they will mill it, now sell the oil, now gather the money, use it to bring in electricity by bringing pole, buy wire and everything. That is how some community generated electricity. Community coming together. It wasn't just one person. They just harvest what they had and put the money together. That if they also want to construct a road, the same, maybe interval of 4 months, 5 months, the palm tree would have, of course, ripe again. They will collect it, and all that. That is family coming together. The same way you mentioned something, which we know as social responsibility. We are some, maybe business owners and others that are instituted in a place. We do something for that community, maybe drip parboiled water and all that to make that place better. You don't have to wait for government or anything. So these are ways that community we are doing well, but we have failed to be community that we are supposed to be. We can actually do it. The same way of insecurity, you don't need government to provide armor tank and everything for you to secure your environment. We can individually just find a way. We can come up with vigilante and all that, just to secure ourselves, even if we are not armed. But look out for each other, be another person's eye. Now, talking about how women and the youth can drive this whole sustainability issue we are talking about as a concerned SDG goal of 2030. The women and the youth, or the youth, have the larger population of this country. Over 70% of the total population of Nigeria, the youth and the women. Now, how will you now jettison this population, this vast population, now leave the responsibility in the hand of the minority, so to say? So whether you like it or not, we the youth and women are supposed to be the key drivers of this whole plan. Any policy that is being created or initiated without factoring the women and the youth in it, then that policy is not going to be sustainable, sir. It won't stand. Because we are talking about sustainability over time. Now, a policy is created or developed, and you can't see any element of women and youth in it. Which do you want to talk about, and which will you leave? So, any policy that must strive to be sustained must have women and youths in it, because they are the key drivers. They are the active ones to implement it, to make sure that it's being sustained. So all I will say is that when policy is being developed, intentionally the policy makers, which of course I'm in that space, must intentionally make sure that women and youths are being brought closer to it. Without it, that policy is bound to fail. I would just consider it as vague. So they are the key factors and key drivers of any policy that we want to achieve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It's been an insightful discussion on the shaping of shared future. It's a continuous discussion, and it's a discussion that we are going to continue to discuss, because we have a future that is interconnected. We have a future that is linked to each other. That is why a crisis in America become a crisis in Nigeria today.
Yes.
Crisis anywhere in Nigeria. In Sokoto become a crisis in Cross River.
Yes.
Crisis in Cross River become a crisis in Enugu.
Yes, sir.
And so in this platform, the Sustainability Roundtable TV series, we will continue to give an opportunity for such discussions, so that we know our stake in this whole issue of sustainable development, our journey to implementation of the 2030 agenda.
Yes, sir.
And so this platform is here to break a social and institutional barrier that silence honest conversation, and we can freely express our hopes, yes, express our concerns, express our expectation for the future we want. And as Nigerians and Africans move towards the 2030 deadline for the implementation of this agenda, this platform also exists to inform, inspire, connect, and mobilize, to influence policies, to empower communities, to build partnership, and to spark system change across societies. And so we're inviting you, if you care about the future of Nigeria, Africa, this space is for you. So keep on joining us, so that we continually have this conversation on our SDG. We appreciate everyone that is out there listening, or all our viewers, and we will continue to bring topics that relate to you, topics that are practical, that are community based, so that we'll be able from this platform not bore you with big grammars, but provides the insightful solution to the common need of our time. I appreciate all of you, our viewers. Thank you for watching us.
Thank you.
Bye.